Hello and welcome to another edition of Currently in Quincy. I'm Joe Catalano. On today's program, we will learn all about an effort to create a coastal walking trail here in Quincy. It's a beautiful day for a walk today, and looks like most of the week is going to be great to get outdoors as well. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a dedicated walking trail along the coastline here in Quincy, right to downtown Quincy? That is the idea behind the President's Coast Walkway, Pedestrian Way, Pathway. Well, let's talk to Scott Bishop and PJ Foley and find out all about this idea. Hi, guys.
Good morning,
Hey,
Joe.
good morning.
Appreciate you having coming over and talking to us.
Thanks for having us in. This is an honor.
Yeah, this is great. Last time we tried to do this, PJ, it snowed.
It was a blizzard. That's right.
I said, you know, let's not talk about walking outside in the middle of a snowstorm.
Exactly. Although it would have come in handy when the roads were shut down. The pathway would have served a purpose that day.
This is true. This is true. Scott, nice to meet you from
Nice to
Bishop
meet you
Land
as well.
Design here in Quincy, right?
That's right.
Most notably, I guess, designing the brand new Kincaid Park
That's
over
correct.
in West Quincy. Yeah, and,
that is right.
it looks great.
We've been here. This is our 7th year in operation here in Quincy, and it's like we have a couple of satellite offices all over the U.S., but our headquarters, so to speak, are in Quincy.
That's great. Very good. So you want to give back to your community, basically.
Of course.
Right? Yeah.
Of course.
So let's talk about this idea. I know there have been a couple of public meetings held already just to get input from the community, but what is kind of the scope of a walkway along the coastline, if you would?
So, you know, a lot of it comes from the idea that we need to start looking at different modes of transportation as we think about, you know, where the world is going. And so alternative modes of transportation are something that are definitely going to be funded in transportation packages that are coming out of Washington. And then that kind of married up with, there was a real voice from the community that really sparked the whole thing, and that was the genesis of this project, really, which was that people said, why can't we connect the different neighborhoods in Quincy? It seems like there is a predominantly enough open space, and so that's kind of where this all started. And honestly, there was really, because of the work that I had done in Kincaid, that the city asked that I meet with PJ and start to talk about some of these ideas, because he was kind of had his finger on the pulse in terms of what the community was kind of asking for.
Yeah, PJ, you've been involved in, I guess, environmental issues for a very long time, right?
Long time.
Yeah.
Long time. It's a lot of fun. And the other spark, as Scott mentioned, that really got this going was the flooding issues and the storms that we had back in 2018. You know, really dealt the city a blow.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, so I had been thinking about something along these lines for a long time.
Okay.
And one of the things that we discovered, and we're working on it as we speak, is we spent a lot of public money and capital on Broadmeadows, a $6 million Army Corps restoration. It did a beautiful job. It's still coming into its own because it was that big of an earth-moving project. But it's all waterfront, and if you come along any of the coastal routes from the city, they all exist. We're not building new bike lanes or anything like that. They're already in place.
Okay.
But if you were to come from, say, the Squantum, North Quincy area, down along Walston Boulevard, beautiful walk, or on a bike, it brings you to Broadmeadows. And if you were to come out of Howe's Neck and you come along the berm, it brings you to Broadmeadows. If you leave Germantown, it brings you to Broadmeadows, which is a dead end. It's surrounded by water. But there was a bridge. There was a bridge that connected Broadmeadows over Town River with photographs. Actually, I didn't know till yesterday it had a name. It's called the Fallon's Bridge. And a pretty substantial bridge, and all the pilings are still there.
Really?
So that's kind of the missing link.
Okay.
So we have this newly developed downtown Quincy, which is beautiful. It has a population that didn't exist there a couple of years ago. These are all new residents, new friends of Quincy. And you know, so the more we looked at it, and you know, I realized that the bridge is the missing link. The bridge can be rebuilt because the pilings are there. It's been there historically. We have the photographs, and that would allow, you know, people to, and this wouldn't be for people that are going to be coming in from other communities to walk around Quincy.
Okay.
This is just, you know, for the communities that exist here now.
Okay.
And it would just give them nicer access. If you think about Marymount and Adams Shore and those communities being able to walk over to CVS, or coming from behind instead of going along the Southern Artery.
Okay.
I don't think too many people are going to walk to the CVS from those communities right now.
True.
You know,
Yeah.
but so there's a lot to it. As you mentioned, we've had 2 of the 3 community meetings thus far. Learned a lot at each meeting, you know, and one of the guys said, you know, have you brought the Audubon Society? Do they know about this? We said, no, but we will. They do now.
Okay, all right.
And we, you know,
Yeah.
because we reached out and we have imagery, they do projects like this all over the nation.
Okay.
And, you know, other great ideas that have come from the community, we're incorporating them after every public meeting. And Scott can speak to one of the things that's really critically important is that at the end of each meeting, we have these exercises that allow people to share their thoughts and data, what's important.
Focus groups, if you will. Yeah.
We need some hard data rather than just somebody like me saying, hey, I think this is a good idea
Yeah.
to do. We need the data if we're going to go for. Oh, and one last thing, and I'll pass it over to Scott. I want to really thank the Community Preservation Committee
Yes.
for giving us the initial grant,
Okay.
you know, to do this.
Oh.
They do great work. They do great work as a volunteer board, and you know, I promised them that we'd come back and deliver a really top-notch project for them. You know, to see that that money is being well spent.
Okay. So what was Fallon's Bridge originally used for?
Good question. We think now this was from the Parker collection, the Warren Parker collection at the library.
Okay.
He was a building inspector 100-odd years ago, and he photographed everything in Quincy. So much that the whole collection was moved to the Thomas Crane Public Library.
Okay. So anybody can see that right now, even?
Right now.
Okay.
So the Fallon's Bridge, we like I say, I found out, I think it was yesterday, the name of it. They were contractors, they were builders, the Fallons. They built Marymount, Adams Shore, the homes, the neighborhoods.
Okay.
So we're thinking it was an easier way for them to get personnel and material
Okay.
to those neighborhoods.
So, okay. So
You
it was
know,
a practical
rather
thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
You know, you're transporting lumber and brick and
Sure.
all this other stuff and people. And that's what the bridge was built for.
Okay.
It's gone into disrepair. It's gone, really, you know.
Right.
But I mean,
Yeah.
now all of a sudden we're looking for ways for not only would all those coastal communities that I just mentioned be able to cross through Broad Meadows, which is a beautiful waterfront area.
It's Passamaquoddy Park now, right?
Passamaquoddy Park,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you. But right over Town River and CVS, Stop and Shop, the YMCA,
Yeah.
all continue right on up into Quincy Center.
Okay.
For, you know, you could ride your bike up there and hop on the red line to go to work.
So you're really just looking to kind of restore it to the way it was, sounds like.
That's the amazing thing, is
Yeah.
that almost all the components of this network are in place.
Yeah.
They've just never been networked.
Okay.
And, you know, so that's the stage we're at now, is gathering data from the community.
Okay. So Scott, what would it take logistically really to develop this, you know, and how much would it cost?
Well, I mean, we have to go through a process, which is again, we can't put a cost on anything until we know what it is.
Okay, all right.
So that we're at the early stages. So first we gather the community's input, and that helps us to shape the project.
Okay.
And that may say, oh, this route's better than that route, or we think that, you know, this portion maybe should be included, or maybe we want further amenities in this area, like we want people to be able to sit and hang out. So that would be like
so
a path plus an amenity.
Benches and...
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
maybe lighting.
And at the same time, we're also looking at the potential for some of these areas to, you know, while we're there, think about how we can actually increase coastal resiliency, right? Because all of these things can get tied together as you start to build the project. So the quick answer is I don't know.
Yep.
But the long answer is we're working towards that as we do this project.
All right.
So once we kind of get the community engagement done, and we're right now going through various areas, we're looking at the existing conditions, which then help us to determine, oh, this should probably have a little piece of resiliency design in it. This should have a little piece of park design in it. And then we draw these different sections out. And then we go through the process of costing it. At the end of this project, we will be able to determine a ballpark, what we call a level of cost figure, which is kind of the first step in understanding how much something like this would cost.
When you say resiliency, are you talking like a seawall or a marsh?
We certainly, the marshes are critical for resiliency, and my firm, we're natural systems guys, right? Like, I'm a landscape architect. I have a degree in human ecology. So I'm not a gray infrastructure kind of person.
All right.
Like we try to look for living systems that are going to help with that. So that could be a mix of hard and soft stuff.
Okay.
But if we can increase coastal resiliency by adding more marsh or adapting a different area, changing that condition, we look at wave attenuators, different things like that, get to the more mechanical side of things. But those all help without creating like another kind of worse impact for the living systems that are already there.
Okay.
So we always are looking at ways to improve any of the sites that we're engaged
Yeah, well,
in.
to PJ's point before, there was tremendous, devastating flooding a few years ago. That a lot of people lost their homes.
Yeah.
A lot of the area is unbuildable
Right,
because
roads
of
are
that.
underwater, and
Absolutely.
no transportation. So,
Sure.
to Scott's point, one of the things we want to be sure of is that if this path exists, that it is also accessible during those times.
Okay.
That's where
Yep.
the resiliency piece
Yes,
comes in.
correct.
If the roads are impassable, we want to make sure that this is
Yeah.
accessible.
So the bridge has to be high enough, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
To allow
And
passage underneath.
a
and
very good point,
prevent flooding.
because
Yeah.
that where the bridge is
Yeah.
is beyond any navigable water in Town River. It's
Okay.
mud flats at low tide.
Yep.
So just before it, on the other side, the navigable waters end. There's a small marina there.
Okay.
That the city just acquired, as a matter of fact.
Oh, right behind CVS. somewhere.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah.
Right at that point, that's where there's no dredging, there's no deep water. So the bridge we'll leave the bridge high.
Yeah.
For multiple reasons. Plenty of any boats that can go up there now at high tide.
Lobstermen use that area, I know a lot.
They do,
Yeah.
behind the CVS.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the location of the bridge is actually right behind what's known as the Field Street Station.
Yeah.
The National Grid area. It's right there. You can go there at low tide
Yep.
and you'll see it.
Okay.
It's there today.
Is there an actual pathway that exists also? Is there an actual path that just has to be restored? Or?
Pretty close.
Really?
Well, when they did Broad Meadows over, when
Yeah.
the Army Corps did Broad Meadows over, they created pathways all throughout Broad Meadows.
Okay.
So those exist.
Okay.
It would need some more work. We'd have to extend one of the pathways towards the proposed bridge.
Okay.
But like I say, I shouldn't even guess a percentage, but like 99% of this exists. It's already in place.
Are they paved pathways or just dirt pathways?
They're mostly gravel in Broad Meadows.
So we'll have to improve that. I mean,
Okay.
that's
We
part
want
of
ADA accessibility.
Of course,
and-
yeah.
Certainly I don't design projects that don't have really the major components of ADA accessibility,
Yeah.
and here in Massachusetts, MAAB accessibility,
Which is what,
which is
Scott?
this higher level. It's
Oh.
Massachusetts Architectural Access Board,
Oh, okay.
and they are usually at a more stringent level in terms of what we do here, which
see.
is totally Massachusetts, going a little bit above and beyond.
Fine by me.
Always have to be different, right?
Right. Well, it helps with my business model, right?
Right, yeah.
So that's there's improvements that we're going to want to make,
Okay.
right? And we are going to determine what those kind of materialities are, based upon those. We are going to have to think about the width of some of these things. So
Yes,
there are
yeah.
going to be improvements. I think, to PJ's point, the land that's there and the public access is all. It's like there's nothing on the take
Yeah.
here, right? Like we're getting there through public
The
means.
city already has it, right?
Correct.
And
Okay.
and by partnerships with people that have already engaged with the city and saying, like a lot of people are along any of those routes are going to be under Chapter 91, so a lot of them have already supplied public access.
Okay.
So we may just be having discussions about like how we may help to improve some of that. And so that's really, we have to be at a certain level of basically the federal threshold in order to get federal money for what, this is the wonky term, but multimodal pathway is
Okay.
what it's called.
Walking, biking.
That's right.
Right.
What else? I mean,
Yeah.
are you talking motorized vehicles also?
There are not
No.
motorized vehicles
Okay.
allowed.
Okay.
And we do not want that. I mean, the whole other idea that goes along with this is like giving people a space away from vehicles.
Plenty of that on the Southern Artery. Right?
Yeah,
And C Street
so-
already.
Yeah, right. And it's not. I mean, we could be able to create routes really to many of the different academic institutions, all the schools, right? So these are going to become. That would fall under what we would call the Safe Routes to Schools plan.
Oh. Well, Clifford Marshall is right there.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And
then
Broad Meadows.
Snug Harbor, of course.
Snug
Yeah.
Harbor,
Okay.
Atherton,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Merrimack,
all of connecting all of these. That's the idea of networking. Yeah, we used to include some libraries there, and then
Okay.
we're just we're literally we're looking at ways to connect the high school even to that, and,
Okay. It's
and
right
the
there, too.
YMCA. So that it becomes really a lot more to the community than just like a pretty place to walk.
Okay.
It's about like getting around. It's about being active with your body and exercising.
Thousand Southern Artery is not far off.
Yeah.
You know, senior
There you
citizens,
go.
I'm sure, would
Yeah.
benefit from that.
We,
Yeah.
in Germantown, we incorporate O'Brien Towers,
Sure.
into it. And the city, Julie Sullivan, who's the city's first environmental scientist, and she's great. We have a small committee, a steering committee. Julie's on the committee. I hope I pronounced his name properly. Ali Schleiman is the public safety.
Yes, yeah.
So
It's Sleeman, but that's okay.
Sleeman, my apologies.
That's okay.
And, but they just recently acquired a small, we won't have motorized vehicles on
Yes,
it, but
yeah.
this is like a souped up ATV that can carry, it's like a small ambulance.
Yeah, I saw a picture of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, so when we have those events where some of those communities might get isolated, the city does a good job of pre-positioning an ambulance on
Yes.
all three peninsulas.
Yes, yeah.
But if the ambulance can't get out,
Yep.
it's a problem.
Right.
So the city now has this piece of equipment, and, we have him at the table, so
All
that
right.
we're not missing anything.
Just in
and
case, yeah.
It's about the 0.1. We have to design to the 0.1 for these emergency access because those are key and critical events. But it gives us the 99.9% chance to enjoy it otherwise,
Yeah.
right? So that's really.
We are running out of time, but what is the next step? What happens now?
One more community meeting.
That's right.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll get the date. The date is being worked around now. And
Okay.
it'll be on all the information will be on the website.
Okay, which we've been putting up on the screen for folks to
Great.
visit along the way, and we'll have
Awesome.
have you back.
yeah, for
maybe
sure.
after that meeting, maybe, and,
Yeah.
and find out what the next
That'd be
steps will
great.
be.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not even asking about a timeline. I'm not going to ask you about costs because
Yeah,
it's too soon.
We're
Yeah.
hoping for no pandemic and no bad weather.
There you go.
That's all we can ask for, right? Yeah.
You're right. At this stage, it's all public engagement. We need as many people to, come to get involved and give us their insight.
All right,
That's what we're
gentlemen,
here for.
appreciate it.
All right,
Good to
thanks
talk
for
to you.
having us.